Well, I'm a sort of artist in virtual residence and general maker of things with the Science Gossip material. So I've been doing some little animations, and I'll be doing some illustrations for the project. I don't think I had any particular interest in the 19th century. I mean, I liked Dickens, I suppose was about the closest I would get. Something that, you know, as a comics person, I've always loved old comics, like old black and white and ink comics. And of course, those all came from 19th century engravings. Punch, I've got a couple of copies of Punch floating around here. There was just so much, that's really where the language of comics was invented in this period, and there's just such wonderful work in those old black and white engravings. There's just a direct line from magazines like Punch into the newspaper strip, into the modern comic. It's a direct line of descent. Well, my normal day job is I'm an animator, mostly visual effects stuff, so sort of the big monster-y movies, Clash of the Titans, Jungle Book, that sort of thing. This is my studio at home, so this is where I do my own stuff and stuff all the books and papers and whatnot. So this is a bit sort of the storage / workroom. And what I'm working on here is called a Cintiq. If you want to, here, this turns around fine. So as you can see, it's just a big computer screen, and I can draw right on it. And that's where I do most of my work, is on here with the laptop, and yeah. I'm kind of using this as an excuse to do something I've wanted to do for ages, which is to animate some of these wonderful old engravings. I've got fished out a couple of copies of Science Gossip. Oh, look at that great monkey. It's just fantastic stuff. And, you know, there's no image in here that you don't think, you know, what fun stuff you could do with it. Here's one, British Snipes, which I just thought had a nice feel to it. And these were really lovely, lively little guys here. And they feel like they want to move already. So I thought, all right. So to animate them, I take the file into Photoshop, and then these are all sort of cut out. I just would cut them out into pieces. So if I zoom right in on his little feet, you can see the toe, legs, you know, the head and neck are all split up into pieces here. So I've just cut them out. And then I bring that into Maya, which is the software I use at work. This is kind of the standard animation software. So this is the software, Maya. This is the software I use in my day job. And now most of the big feature films are done in this. So here's the little cutout pieces, and I've attached them all to these, what you call a rig, which lets you move it. You can get a really nice, lively kind of result just animating them a little bit. The butterflies were really fun to do. Images, people tend to either discount them or distrust them, you know, which is fair enough, because they go beyond your critical faculties. They go directly to, you know, the animal part of your brain. The way that we read, when something moves in a biological way, you read it as alive. You can't help it. It's an instinct. So I think, you know, on the one hand, people think it's maybe suspect cartoons and animations and drawings, but on the other hand, I think it gives you a physical connection, and you know, now that I'm hanging out with academics, I can use terms like embodiment. It's very embodied way of understanding something or perceiving something, which is, I think, the first step to feeling a connection with it. So these are just screenshots of the Galaxy Zoo, which is count the penguins. And this particular image is you know, it's a challenge to count all these guys, but there's all these really evocative shots that you're just, you know, you're meant to look at and count these little guys. I guess I'm attracted to it particularly because they're black and white, which is my favorite color scheme. So you've got all these great little guys, and then also all this historical material around penguins as well. So these wonderful penguin beaks, old penguins, period penguins, just like Blair Witch penguins, and all sorts of possible penguin tales. Well, there's like a little gesture, you know, like I love this guy. This is I think this is from a 1911 expedition, and he's got that little cartoon eye. He's so cute. It's always for me, it's always a gesture. I'm an animator, so I'm looking for a gesture that will have some specific personality, you know, or maybe start to tell a story. Like this guy with his little fins out, sort of hopping over the rocks there. It's hard to go wrong with a penguin, to be honest, because they're just so appealing by their nature. But you know, it can be any number of things. I think this image in particular is just so striking. These little guys all scattered around and doing their thing, and then this little kind of figure in the foreground, ready to star in his existentialist penguin adventure, I guess, going by the imagery here. I've been an animator for 20 years, and in film production, you don't do the big picture, you don't do the story, you take one small thing and you bring it to life. So, you know, actually being given an image, and my immediate reaction to an image is to say, okay, this is my context and this is what I'm working with, and I'm going to take one little bit of it and sort of expand it. I think an approach that I tend to take is that anything that you see, you interpret immediately, even through the act of seeing it. You know, your vision is already an interpretation of something. So a cartoon, you know, or an animation is just an acknowledgement of that, an acknowledgement that you're seeing stuff through a filter. For me, who's really into ink, you know, pen and ink drawing, it's obviously kind of the great heyday of the ink line. I mean, it's ironic because I work digitally, but there's something to me that's so alive about pen and ink. And that's this, you know, period when that came to life, and also there was such a wide range of artists working in this medium, doing cartoons or doing, you know, more serious things. And it's, you know, it's that famous thing in the 19th century, it's this pivot when you're changing from, you know, the old into the new, and there's the embryonic version of everything. There's the embryonic version of mass media, the embryonic version of propaganda, embryonic version of, you know, all these different things, but in kind of this very cute and slightly distanced form, which makes it, you know, maybe more approachable.